We finally got some more news about the upcoming NCAA college football video game from EA Sports. Now, this game was announced a little over a year ago, and every day I get more and more comments asking what's the update on the game. Well, today we finally got some of those updates. Some of the new information includes a more concrete release date, the presentation of the game along with name, image, and likeness, and also some information on the game modes. But if you are new to the channel and you don't want to miss out on future updates surrounding this game, make sure to subscribe and turn the bell icon on so you don't miss any of the important updates when I post them. We're on the road to 500k subscribers, and I would love for you to be a part of the journey. We're gonna break this video down into 3 separate parts to go over all of the new information, and shout out to Matt Brown from Extra Points who has delivered this information to us. I will link his article below in the description. He's been uncovering a lot of news about this game, and today he brings us more. So part 1 is starting with the release date. Now, we've heard a lot of different rumors about the release date. Some people thinking maybe it's gonna come a little bit earlier, some people thinking maybe it's gonna come a little bit later than expected. Well, this is what he had to say here. EA's aim is to release a standalone college football game in July of 2023, allowing for the 2-year game development window necessary for collecting game assets and developing gameplay to meet the current market demands for a unique college football game while following NCAA guidelines. Now, that part right there was info that we got about a year ago, and people have been saying maybe it's going to come a little later than that, but in the recent update it says here, game development is in full swing and the launch goal remains summer of 2023. So there you go. I saw some graphics floating around social media suggesting a winter 2023 release was possible, but every document I have inspected, as well as all communications I've had with individuals directly familiar with the product's development, confirm July of 23 is the current target, which makes plenty sense because you can't really release a college game in winter once the NFL season is full swing and Madden is in full swing. The NCAA games always did better kind of leading into Madden, leading into the NFL season. A lot of people would grab the game because they loved NCAA, but also a lot of people would grab the game to hold them over until Madden released. They're gonna still continue to roll it out that way. They might even start rolling it out a little bit earlier than they did back in the day, especially with them dropping for the first time in many years. So we're basically about a year away from the next NCAA college football game, and I'm super excited. Moving on to part 2 of the video, what is EA asking the schools for right now? Now, this has to do a lot with presentation of the game and the atmosphere of the game, and also has to do with the name, image, and likeness of players. It says here, EA Sports is continuing to gather stadium assets and is now at a point where they would like to start obtaining music assets from your institution. As you can see in the attached spreadsheet, EA is looking for information about band songs, crowd chants, and cheers, as well as when particular audio is played during the football game. Now, one of the things that made the college football game so great and a little bit better than Madden in some ways was the presentation and the atmosphere of the game. The crowds felt very alive. The atmosphere of college football felt very authentic, whereas in Madden, that's still an area where they've gotten a little bit better, but it could still be so much better than it is. The games don't feel as alive as the college games did. The crowds don't feel quite as alive. And what's interesting here is in this document, this is basically what they're asking of the schools. If you can't actually provide us audio, then kind of tell us how it goes so that we can even recreate it, which lets me know that they are taking this seriously and they know that the environment, the atmosphere, and the presentation of the game has to be on point because that's what people expect. And if they're going to finally bring this game back, they absolutely have to deliver on it. Continuing on in the article here, it says, this ask suggests that beyond marching bands, EA Sport is seeking to recreate the stadium experience as closely as possible for each school. So hypothetically, if your alma mater played a specific song at the end of the 3rd quarter, well, EA is trying to add that, if copyright allows for it, into the game. If your student section has a specific chant, well, EA is trying to get everything they need to replicate it. Industry sources tell me that another realism element EA has asked schools for is additional data for spirit stickers on helmets. I'm told EA isn't just hoping to replicate the sticker asset, but sticker distribution and cadence, i.e., if you're playing as Ohio State in the first week of the season, the helmet should be plain. By early November, they should be full of stickers. And we know when it comes to sports games, all of the little details matter, and a lot of these things go overlooked in the Madden series, but in the NCAA series, they were usually pretty spot on. So it looks like, hopefully, we're getting that again when they re-release this game. Moving on here, we're getting more into the name, image, and likeness and the schools that are going to be in the game. It says here, according to the February 25th memo, the CLC is claiming that nearly 120 institutions, athletic conferences, and bowl games have conceptually approved participation. However, I am told the remaining holdouts have still provided stadium and musical assets and are operating as if they are going to participate in the project. The holdouts, I'm told, are either because there is not currently an established mechanism mechanism for paying athletes for their player likeness to appear in the game, or because there are still a few licensing wrinkles that need to be ironed out for schools that currently don't operate under the CLC umbrella. The industry expectation is that every single FBS institution, including the newest members joining from the FCS, will participate in the game at launch. So we shouldn't really have to worry about the schools, the bowl games, any of that. Pretty much all of those should be included into the game, and that's what we've been hearing ever since the announcement. They really haven't gone away from that. We have heard that there are a few schools that maybe were on the fence, but if they can get the licensing worked out, they would happily be in the game. Now, in terms of player participation, obviously that's a little bit more of a hurdle to go over, and it says here, in case there is any confusion, EA Sports wants to include player likeness in this game, and they want to pay athletes to do it. I've been told the company has wanted to do it for years, but prior to the NIL, there wasn't a mechanism to do so without risking player eligibility. The way for EA to pay the athletes now is for them to secure a group license. This is logistically difficult in the college space since there is no college football player union or collective bargaining unit, but group licenses for college athletes products already exist and are continuing to grow. I'm told there is optimism that the framework for a college football player video game group license could be announced as early as this summer. There was some hope it could have happened even earlier, but some shakeups in the college group license industry has made things a teensy bit more complicated. I'm told that when the framework of an agreement is announced, the licensing agent won't have anywhere close to every college football player, but will hope to sign the rest up after securing rights for a critical mass of athletes. In the very unlikely event that EA is unable to secure player likenesses, the video game is still scheduled to publish, but it will not include every single FBS program. According to the 2021 memo, such a game would also not include the ability to edit rosters. Now, this is something we kind of already known about. They do want to get real players in the game. Their plan is to get all of the real players in the game. There may be a few players here or there that they may have to negotiate with directly, but their hope is that soon there's going to be a group license to where they can just license all of the players as a whole, which will make it much easier to get them into the game. The expectation is that it's going to have real players, real names, and it's going to look just like them. However, though, if for some reason, in the unlikely event that they can't do that, the game is still coming out. It's being worked on. It will be released with real schools, real mascots, real stadiums, but it would have generic rosters, and you wouldn't be able to edit them so that you can edit the real players, which would be a bummer. But regardless, we're definitely getting a game. We're almost certainly getting a game with real players, but there's that tiny little bit of unlikeliness that it could be generic players. Now, moving on to part 3 of the video, which is the gameplay stuff and the game modes, the thing that people probably want to know the most about. It says here, do you know about gameplay feature X, Y, or Z? And his response was, not much. I can confirm that EA is planning an Ultimate Team mode similar to Madden, FIFA, and other major sports franchises, which may be a source for potential DLC. I can also confirm that the very popular Dynasty mode will be a part of the game in some capacity, and that EA is taking it very seriously to update the game based on how college football has changed both on and off the field since their last release. Read into that what you will. I'll share more about the gameplay when and if I learn more. Now, this is also no surprise because their last release, NCAA 14, had an Ultimate Team mode as well, and it's looked at as one of the best football games of all time. So just because a game has an Ultimate Team mode, whether you're a fan of it or not, that doesn't mean the game can't be good. The thing that has to really land here is the gameplay has to at least be decent, and the offline modes have to be good, and the fact that they do mention Dynasty mode here is definitely something we want to hear. And when you combine that with how detailed they're taking the presentation and the atmosphere, that is definitely a sigh of relief for what they're going to be delivering next year. The thing that made NCAA great was that Dynasty mode was super deep, and especially after Madden lost a lot of the features in their franchise mode, NCAA's Dynasty mode and career mode continued to shine and get better. And if they're going to bring this back, they know they have to nail those modes. Hope you enjoyed the video. Check out this video right here where I scored a touchdown in every single NCAA football game ever.